The new-look New York Knicks started their 2025 NBA season by breaking one of the most frustrating patterns of the previous year. In front of a roaring Madison Square Garden crowd, the Knicks defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers 119-111, a win that felt much bigger than just the first game of an 82-game campaign. It was about redemption, identity, and a long-awaited turning point for a franchise that's been desperate to prove it belongs among the East's elite. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. For much of last season, the Cavaliers were New York's unsolvable puzzle. The Knicks went 0-4 against Cleveland in the 2024 regular season, with every game following the same discouraging script: defensive breakdowns, inconsistent execution, and an inability to close when it mattered most. The Cavaliers' physicality and three-point shooting repeatedly overwhelmed the Knicks, leading many analysts to label Cleveland as their kryptonite. Heading into this year's opener, few expected things to change overnight. The Cavs entered the game as slight favorites, and the Knicks faced their own uncertainties. Star center Karl-Anthony Towns was questionable with a lingering injury. The preseason had offered little clarity, with uneven performances and lineup experimentation that raised questions about chemistry and cohesion. Even the most loyal Knicks fans approached opening night with cautious optimism rather than confidence. But what unfolded at Madison Square Garden was a clear statement. Under new head coach Mike Brown, New York looked organized, confident, and, perhaps most importantly, composed. The team executed with purpose from the opening tip. Jalen Brunson, the emotional and tactical leader of the group, set the tone early with efficient shooting and sharp playmaking. Yet the win wasn't about Brunson carrying the team, it was about the collective stepping up around him. OG Anunoby emerged as one of the game's key contributors, matching his career high with 14 rebounds and bringing relentless energy on both ends of the floor. His defensive presence against Cleveland's wings, particularly Donovan Mitchell, was pivotal. Brown has emphasized rebounding and transition defense throughout training camp, and Anunoby embodied that philosophy perfectly. Josh Hart provided his usual hustle, diving for loose balls and sparking fast breaks, while Dante DiVincenzo hit crucial shots that stopped Cleveland's momentum late in the third quarter. Even the bench, a weakness at times last season, showed growth. Miles McBride and Precious Achiuwa delivered productive minutes, maintaining intensity whenever the starters rested. This wasn't a perfect performance. The Knicks committed a few careless turnovers, and their perimeter defense wavered at times, allowing Cleveland to stay within striking distance. But each time the Cavs made a run, the Knicks responded. That resilience, something missing in past matchups, reflected a clear shift in mentality. Coach Brown's fingerprints were all over this game. His rotations were tighter, his defensive schemes more adaptable, and his communication with players visible throughout the night. Since taking over in the offseason, Brown has focused on balance, creating an environment where Brunson isn't forced to shoulder the offensive burden alone. If this game was any indication, that plan is working. After the final buzzer, Brunson spoke briefly about the significance of the win, calling it a good first step, but just one step. Brown echoed that sentiment in his post-game remarks, stressing that the team's goal is consistency, not a single night of celebration. Still, there's no denying the psychological importance of this victory. The Knicks needed to prove, to themselves and to the fans, that they could beat the teams that once dominated them. Next challenge: the Boston Celtics. The road doesn't get any easier from here. The Knicks' second game of the season will come against another powerhouse opponent, the Boston Celtics, a rivalry that's been reignited over the past 2 seasons. Boston handled the Knicks with ease during last year's regular season, using its depth and outside shooting to expose New York's flaws. But when the playoffs came, the Knicks flipped the script, defeating the Celtics in 6 games during the Eastern Conference semifinals. Now, the Celtics are looking for revenge, while the Knicks are looking to prove that their postseason success was no fluke. Boston remains a formidable test, even with Jason Tatum still recovering from a lingering injury and Jaylen Brown expected to carry more of the offensive load. For New York, the matchup will be another early indicator of just how far Mike Brown's system has come. Can the Knicks continue to play with the same defensive focus and composure? Can they execute under pressure when the stakes rise? It's too early to talk about championships or long playoff runs, but make no mistake, this version of the Knicks feels different. There's a maturity in how they handle adversity, a poise that wasn't there before. The addition of Towns, once he's fully healthy, should only make this team more dangerous, especially when paired with Brunson's leadership and Anunoby's two-way consistency. The NBA season is long, unpredictable, and often unforgiving. Injuries, fatigue, and momentum swings can rewrite narratives overnight. But for one night in October, the Knicks gave their fans a glimpse of something real, a team that plays together, defends with pride, and refuses to fold against the very opponents who once had their number. As Madison Square Garden emptied out, the cheers still echoed, not just for the win, but for what it might represent. The dawn of a new chapter. A team that's finally learning how to rise above its old habits. And as they prepare to face Boston, the message is clear. These Knicks are done running from their past. They're ready to face it, and maybe, just maybe, rewrite it. The New York Knicks are standing at a fascinating crossroads, a place somewhere between stability and ambition, between comfort and the chase for greatness. And right at the center of it all stands Mikal Bridges, a player who could finally step into the spotlight and earn one of the most significant milestones of his career, his first NBA All-Star selection. The Knicks enter this season in a position that feels both familiar and foreign. They're stable, confident, and largely respected around the league, a rare sentence for a franchise that so often lived in chaos. Sure, they've already been tested with early injuries to key contributors Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson, but even with those setbacks, New York has managed to project strength. Under new head coach Mike Brown, the team has found a balance that many fans weren't sure they'd see so soon. The season opener against the Cleveland Cavaliers was more than just a win. It was a statement, a reminder that this version of the Knicks is not built to fold under pressure. Cleveland had been a persistent thorn in their side over recent seasons, a team that repeatedly exposed their flaws. But on opening night, the Knicks stood tall. They defended, shared the ball, and looked composed. It wasn't flashy, but it was convincing, the kind of performance that hinted this group might finally be ready to stay near the top of the East. And in the middle of that measured, disciplined victory was Mikal Bridges, quietly productive but unmistakably important. Bridges came to New York with sky-high expectations. His arrival, following a major trade that cost the Knicks a significant haul of young talent and draft assets, was meant to signal the team's transition from good to great. After all, Bridges had already proven himself across the league as a defensive force, a relentless worker, and a scorer still discovering his ceiling. He was supposed to be the missing piece. But last season didn't exactly play out that way. Under former head coach Tom Thibodeau, Bridges looked like a player searching for rhythm. His offensive role fluctuated from night to night, and his defense, though still active, didn't carry the same bite it once did in Phoenix or Brooklyn. It wasn't effort, it was fit. The system didn't maximize what he brought to the floor. That's where Mike Brown comes in. Known for his structure, communication, and emphasis on ball movement, Brown's system is everything Bridges needed, and maybe everything the Knicks needed, too. Under Brown, there's more space to operate, more freedom to move, and more encouragement to play instinctively. It's a version of basketball that invites Bridges to be both a scorer and a connector, a two-way wing who can impact the game without forcing it. SNY's Ian Begley captured that sentiment perfectly, writing, "Mikal Bridges is going to have a great season under Brown. He's more comfortable after spending a full year with the Knicks, and Brown has praised him for his effort on both ends of the floor. I think Bridges will be a star in his role this year, and his defense will be key to so many of their regular season wins. If he can hit threes at a higher clip and get to the line more often, his scoring will jump." Those comments don't come lightly. The Knicks have built a culture around accountability and effort, and for Brown to single out Bridges this early says a lot about how the organization views him, not as a complementary piece, but as a cornerstone. Shooting remains a crucial part of the conversation. Last year, Bridges shot just 35.4% from beyond the arc, decent, but below his established standard. Between his time with the Phoenix Suns and Brooklyn Nets, he had averaged nearly 38% from three over 2 seasons. Those few percentage points can make the difference between being a reliable role player and being an all-star. Under Brown's system, however, the expectation is that his shooting numbers will rise naturally as the offense flows more freely and the ball moves with intent. And we saw flashes of that in the season opener. Bridges finished with 16 points, 6 assists, and a handful of mid-range conversions that reminded fans why he's so dangerous when in rhythm. He wasn't forcing shots. He wasn't dominating the ball. He was simply making the right plays, reading the defense, and contributing across the board. It's easy to overlook games like that, quiet, efficient, and understated, But those are exactly the kind of performances that build momentum over a long season. Add to that his defensive production, 2 blocks and 3 steals on opening night, and you start to see the blueprint for the kind of all-star campaign many have been waiting for. The Knicks are in a unique position. Teams near the top of the standings often receive multiple all-star nods, and with Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns already strong candidates, Bridges could ride the team's success into the conversation. But that won't be enough on its own. What will separate him is his balance, his ability to be elite without being loud, impactful without being overexposed. Bridges himself acknowledged after the opener that he still has work to do. He spoke calmly about getting into better rhythm, about continuing to build chemistry with his new teammates, and about doing the small things that don't always show up on the stat sheet. That mindset is exactly what makes his rise so believable. For years, Mikal Bridges has been the kind of player every contender wants: selfless, durable, reliable, and unshakably focused. Now, in New York, with the lights at their brightest and the expectations higher than ever, he finally has a chance to prove he can be more than that. He's not chasing numbers this season. He's chasing validation, recognition, the sense that the work, the sacrifices, and the quiet consistency are leading to something bigger. If he continues on this trajectory, blending defense, leadership, and smart offense, there's every reason to believe he'll be taking that flight in February, wearing the Knicks logo on his chest, as a first-time NBA All-Star. Because for Mikal Bridges, this year isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving himself right. The New York Knicks enter the 2025-26 NBA season standing on the edge of something special. After years of rebuilding, reshuffling, and redefining their identity, this team now looks like a genuine contender. The expectations are sky-high, and the pressure that comes with them is nothing new for a franchise that thrives under the bright lights of Madison Square Garden. Last season, the Knicks finished third in the Eastern Conference and reached their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance since the year 2000. The run didn't end the way they wanted, a hard-fought elimination at the hands of the Indiana Pacers, but it was a statement to the rest of the league. The Knicks are back. Now, as the new season tips off, the message from New York is clear. They're not satisfied with progress. They want a championship. Their core remains intact: Jalen Brunson, the heartbeat and floor general; Karl-Anthony Towns, the versatile big man whose arrival changed the team's offensive dynamics; Mikal Bridges, the defensive stopper who brings toughness and poise; OG Anunoby, a two-way force who embodies the grit of New York basketball; and Josh Hart, the energy spark who keeps the team connected. Together, they represent a balance of star power, chemistry, and resilience that few teams in the East can match. But the Knicks didn't stop there. After falling short last spring, they knew depth was the missing piece. And they addressed it. This summer, New York's front office worked with surgical precision. They signed veteran scorer Jordan Clarkson, adding instant offense off the bench. Gershon Yabusele joined to strengthen the front court with toughness and versatility. Malcolm Brogdon, calm, experienced, and battle-tested, brings leadership to the second unit. And Landry Shamet, a proven shooter, provides spacing that every contender needs. Under new head coach Mike Brown, the Knicks have found a fresh identity. Brown's defensive philosophy blends with the offensive creativity of Brunson and Towns, creating a balanced system built for both grit and execution. The team is deeper, smarter, and hungrier than ever. But even as they prepare to chase a championship, there's another story simmering beneath the surface, one that could redefine everything. The rumors started quietly, then gained traction. LeBron James, the $101 million superstar of the Los Angeles Lakers, could be on the move. And one of the teams emerging among the favorites to acquire him before the trade deadline? The New York Knicks. According to Bovada, the Knicks currently have the fourth best odds, plus 550, to land LeBron, trailing only the Dallas Mavericks, minus 120, the Cleveland Cavaliers, plus 350, and the Golden State Warriors, plus 450. The possibility alone has electrified fans and stirred speculation across the league. LeBron James, in a Knicks uniform. LeBron James, walking into Madison Square Garden as the face of the franchise. LeBron James, chasing one more championship in the world's biggest basketball city. It's a dream scenario, and one that, for a moment, doesn't feel completely impossible. Still, the reality is complicated. While the Knicks would instantly become favorites with LeBron on their roster, multiple factors make such a deal unlikely. For starters, New York's front office has been extremely selective when it comes to major trades. Their focus remains on Giannis Antetokounmpo, a player they've quietly monitored for more than a year. Trading for LeBron would also come at a steep cost. The Lakers, unwilling to part with their franchise icon for less than a blockbuster return, would likely demand at least one of New York's core players, perhaps Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby, plus draft compensation. It's a price that could disrupt the very balance that's made the Knicks contenders in the first place. And then there's timing. LeBron's contract expires at the end of the season, giving him the freedom to choose his next destination in free agency. The Knicks, fully aware of that leverage, may decide it's smarter to wait. So for now, it's patience, not panic, guiding the Knicks' strategy. They'll watch how things unfold in Los Angeles. They'll stay ready, flexible, and opportunistic. Because in today's NBA, fortunes can change in a matter of weeks. If the Lakers start to slide and LeBron decides he wants out, the Knicks could move quickly. They have the assets, the cap flexibility, and the allure of Madison Square Garden, a combination few other teams can match. And make no mistake, if the Bucks suddenly make Giannis Antetokounmpo available, New York will be first in line for that conversation too. For now, though, the focus stays on what's in front of them, a season of opportunity, redemption, and possibility. Under Mike Brown's direction, with Jalen Brunson steering the ship and Karl-Anthony Towns anchoring the paint, the Knicks are ready to prove that last year's success was only the beginning. The speculation, the trade rumors, the noise, it's all part of life in New York. But this team seems built to handle it. They're deep, disciplined, and dangerous. And as the lights dim inside Madison Square Garden and the crowd roars to life, the message is simple. This is the moment. This is the team. And whether it's LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, or no one else at all, the New York Knicks are coming for the crown.